Hopefully you can hear me. But why? Why did you come to the live stream? The topic is calling people a narcissist. In 2019, I opened a business, a narcissistic abuse recovery life coach. Today, people are screaming at me on the street calling me a narcissist. Why am I having this live stream? Because I live in Malton and I'm going to be living in Malton for a while. We're in 2025. So I want to know where Malton heard the word narcissist and why they're calling people a narcissist when they have no idea what it means. Especially me. I'm worried about where Malton heard the word narcissist and what you've been doing with it for 6 years. That's what I'm worried about. All of Malton knows which building I live in, right? 7555 Goreway Drive, apartment 47. Everybody in Malton has seen the videos of the neighbor next door who this morning in his car passed by when I was smoking on the rock and called me a narcissist. We're all up to date on what we're doing in Malton for violence against women, mental health and addiction, abuse, narcissistic abuse, coercive control. Which one is it? Human trafficking? As long as we're all on the same page, right, of what we're doing here. A narcissist, narcissistic personality disorder, N.P.D. That's what N.P.D is, narcissistic personality disorder, a personality disorder. A narcissist is someone with a personality disorder. I told you, this is Malton. I opened the business in March 2019. Do you understand that? A narcissistic abuse recovery life coach. Where in Malton did you hear the word narcissist in 2019? I was at World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day in 2018. Where did you hear the word then in 2018? Where were you? What were you doing in Malton? Where did you hear the word life coach? Where did you hear the word empathy? Where did you hear the word self-care? Where did you hear the word CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy? Where did you hear the word mindfulness? Same 6 years. Where did you hear about P.D? Where did you hear about O.J. Simpson and the Kardashians? Well, you keep saying Illuminati, right? So let's hear. Where did you hear about it? Okay, go into Tupac and Biggie. It's the same Jay-Z and P. Diddy. How do you think it's going to change? Go over Dan Schneider. How many of them were victims of him? What is who doing? Is it actually your birthday? Happy birthday if it's actually your birthday. I didn't hear anything. Oh, okay. Well, happy birthday from June. Well, there's lots of events. I missed my birthday too, right? They had a way of ruining it. So, happy birthday to everyone who had their birthday ruined by a narcissist. How about that one? We can pick any day we want and make it our birthday. How about that one? You can't do anything. My birthday was in April. Maybe some of you were here. It's always fun. What if your birthday was Christmas? If your parents were normal, well, do you get one set of presents or two? Then we'll get into if your parents were narcissists. How bad you suffered as a child if your birthday was Christmas. But if your parents were cheap, go back to calling people a narcissist. No, I'm a Taurus, stubborn. Pisces is a water sign. Taurus is an earth sign. Well, you get a dog or a cat. You think that's a joke? Why people get dogs? The comment said, I just want to be loved, not abandoned. A dog will stay there forever. Yeah, going back to the topic. If there are how many people in this building and he's running around screaming at people, how old is he? What is reality to you then? If this is Malton and he's terrorizing women all over Malton, this is how many months now? I moved in here in January 2024. I'm in 47. He was in 45. That was this morning. Who is going to do something? If he's running around calling me a narcissist, do you know another narcissistic abuse recovery life coach anywhere? This is a live stream. All they have to do is join in. If you mean a video, Then I gave you instructions on emailing, right? It is going to be on YouTube because we all live here in Malton. Let's go over this again. There's one mall, right, in Malton. It's Westwood Square. There's one community center, right? The Malton Community Center. There's one library. It's the same Malton Library. What else? There's a McDonald's. There's a Wendy's. Aren't they the same one we all go to in Malton? The bus terminal, isn't it the same bus terminal everybody goes to in Malton? Downtown Toronto. Do you know how to get there? You have to take the bus to Kipling, right? I don't know if you've been going through all this the same 6 years with the violence on the TTC and what was happening. When is the last time you went to Kipling subway station? Do you know how far it is to go downtown from Kipling? Depends where downtown. There used to be Islington subway when I used to go downtown from Malton. Now it's Kipling. So the station's nice, but when you have to wait for the trains, I will go out to the buses. Depends what time you're there. How is that a joke? How else do you get to the subway from Malton? When it was homeless? When it was violence? Which one? When it was addicts? When it was people working? Do you remember all the violence? What time it was in the morning when it used to happen? If you were following. Dating. We went over this, right? Where would you go in Malton? Reality. If you were dating in Malton, what would you do? I'm pretty sure I did ask this before. Just nobody answered. Where do you keep asking about another woman? I don't understand where you keep. If I told you 100 times my ex-boyfriend was a narcissist, I spent 15 and a half years with a narcissist, him. That was 2012. 2019, I opened a business, a narcissistic abuse recovery coach. 2018, I was well into my recovery. So I have no idea where or what you're talking about. Really? Would you go to the Tim Hortons in the mall or outside of the mall? So in reality, how long can you sit in that Tim Hortons outside of the mall? Yeah, from experience. Why are you laughing? There's a sign up that says 20-minute seating limit, right? As long as you want. Well, lucky you. I couldn't even sit and eat the donut. again. Well, what's the reality? If you're sitting there with a date, what do you do? If you wanted to go take a walk, where would you go? Wildwood? The community center? The parks are closed. Well, again, why are we not living in reality if we're wanting to live in reality? Again, do you understand? Narcissists lie. I've spent my whole life with people manipulating and lying. You want to sit on my phone and play games. What do you think I'm going to do to you? Do you understand if something happened in this building, an ambulance showed up and there was a dead body? Do you understand? If everybody came out, we'd all be standing there. I'm in apartment 47. Why don't we look at the parking lot again between building 1 and 2? If an ambulance showed up and just took a body in, would you all come out and watch to see who it was? How about at the Westwood Square? All the days the ambulance were outside there. Do you walk up to see who it is? If you see a bunch of police cars, do you go see what they're doing, who it is? Okay, last one, fire truck. If you see fire trucks, do you go see if there's a house on fire? Okay, let's go back to dating in case there are victims who have been stuck here for a while. If you're a victim of narcissistic abuse, let's say you went online, you had a phone, how would you get the money to go on a date? Well, being a victim, you don't depend on people, right? That'd be another problem. Who would pay, what would pay, how that would happen? Depends how long you're a victim. There are trust issues. So where would you go? Like you said, if you were at the Tim Hortons, that's a public place, then what would happen? So if you were talking to someone, how do you know when you want to go on a date and meet them in person? How long do you talk to them before you want to meet them in person? Well, I spent years and years and years and years and years wondering if my narcissist actually cheated because I couldn't prove it. And then he just dumped me. So that's no closure, right? They don't tell you anything. They just up and leave. Well, that's why some victims actually lose it, right? Trying to follow and stalk and find out if these people are telling them the truth, actually this low, actually do things like you wouldn't believe. Which is why victims validate each other, right? Because they're not going to tell you. They're just going to keep loopholing you. Now, do you understand? Actual mental health, it's the victim who actually will lose it. And the narcissists just get away looking like nothing's wrong. They're perfect. They put on a really good show. They're the nicest people in the world. After 6 years, that's the ridiculous part, right? In Malton, of all places, the whole world has been doing what for 6 years? And right here in Malton, the smallest, after Brampton, after Cawthra Shelter, Mississauga, the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. How that's possible in Malton. Yeah, see, at least you have social media. I didn't have social media. In 1996, there was no social media, right? Think back to when you got a cell phone, what year that was, and what teenager had a cell phone of their own then. Then you can go into prepaid cards when you actually got smartphones and data on your phone. Remember, you didn't have internet on your phone. You had like the snake game. That was the same time when you had to use a camera and take pictures and get them developed. So you had to wait like 4 weeks. So even if you got evidence of pictures, you had to wait. Well, say thank you, social media. If you think about it, do you know what dial-up internet is? Where you had to sit at your computer and the cord was attached and it had to dial it and you heard the noise and you had to wait for it to connect. Check the year again, what year that was. It's the headset. It's just like a headband. You were alive in which year? 1986? And they're talking about when I was born in 1979? I gotta focus on 10 years at a time. I can't do all of them. Are you at the Children in Malton today? Well, that's about 10 years. You're laughing. Emo. Emo makeup. They went from alternative, goth, to emo. Do you understand that in music? If the 90s were apathy, nobody cared, then emo was the next generation. Are we understanding apathy and empathy? Yeah, see? 2000, that was the millennium. Remember all of that? Y2K? When everybody thought everything was, all the power, all the clocks were going to just take the world out? 2000, we're in 2025. If which one? These are your kids? Is that funny? If you were born in 2000, you're 25. It's not possible those are your kids you're talking about then? When? When I moved in here, this was supposed to be my house set for life, my own apartment. Now, almost 2 years later, I'm doing what? Explaining which one? I'm not even sure how old he is. Ridiculous? If you've got the Malton Youth Hub and he's allowed to go in there, the community center, do you know how many little girls and little boys are in there in reality? How many videos did I post if you've ever watched them? Speaking of how this happened. It was the point, and it's going to be the point for a while. If people are running around Malton talking about gaslighting, where do you think that came from? Gaslighting. It's exactly what you've been doing to me. Provoking me, right? And then telling people I'm crazy. I'm mean. I'm doing things to you. Remember, I'm giving you PTSD. Now, the reality, if I was a victim when I started the business, how did I give you PTSD? If I'm on ODSP right now with the same lifelong nausea that I've had since 19 years old, explain that to me. That was 1998 if I was 19. When, which one? Can I explain Black excellence? Well, as I explained to you just now, in 2018, I was focused on World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day. So you're going to have to go back to Malton and find out where Black excellence started and help explain it to me. I'm aware of the police excellence. I'm aware of what I posted and what I know. That's the same Peel Regional Police, right? That's the same Police Excellence Center. That's the same Malton Moms. So go ahead, let me hear. Where did Black excellence, how would I explain that if I was living on Netherwood in 2017, 2016, 2018? Do I support Blacks? Do you understand? I was born in Malton in 1979. I went to Ridgewood. I went to Lancaster. Morningstar. I am 46 years old. After you put me in the homeless shelter for 6 years, so you could run around calling toxic and life coach, I'm sitting here in Malton. Do I what? Support what? You want reality. Let me hear about systemic racism and what it is. Systemic violence. Remember that? What system is that? That's a school board, the government? I'm here now. You want reality? Let's go over it. Systemic racism. What system was it that was racist? You went over the school board. You fired the school board, the Malton Moms. That's the same community center. Those are the same school boards. Well, let's hear now. I'm sitting right here. 6 years of what? We went over Black Lives Matters. And did you watch the video in America? And what did you see when you watched the George Floyd video? That what, he robbed the store? You missed that part? What did you see about it? A meet and greet for fans. There's an idea. If I knew it was safe. For me, can you imagine? All the years in Malton, they were teaching them at the hub about media and social media, and I'm 46. So are your kids safe? How is that funny? If it was a girl or a boy. and they just decided to go. Where would they go? To the community center, the same one? This is 6 years of what? You're telling me about YouTube now and social media? What do you think about fans coming to your apartment on Goreway? Do you think it would ever be a good idea for a stranger to show up at your house? Much less more than one? I don't have a Snapchat. I've never had a Snapchat. Do you understand I hate pictures? Why would I have a Snapchat? That's why I didn't use Instagram, because it's all pictures. That's why all my pictures were food. The point is, this is going to be on YouTube forever. And you're still going to live here tomorrow in Malton. It's a different story, right? If you don't live in Malton. No, it's still Canada. If you've ever been a victim is one thing. If you've ever been accused of being a narcissist is another, right? Well, this live stream is for people who are accused of being a narcissist. We look alike? When I post videos on narcissistic abuse, what happens to those? When I post videos on cooking meals and budgeting your money, when I post videos on I have nausea, actual nausea, what happens to those? All you keep talking about on every comment and every post and every text is my looks. It doesn't matter what I wear. You will comment anyway. Doesn't matter what I look like, you will comment anyway. No, I want to know if I came and actually attacked you for each one. Why you think you're exempt. Especially when you're in Malton. You've been accused of spreading propaganda. What do you think is going to happen to you when they catch you? It's kind of like what, a smear campaign? When you smear somebody's name? It's kind of like, You want to go over? Okay, let's go over Nicki Minaj. Black Lives Matters. She qualifies, but she's from Trinidad. So which way do you want me to go? My parents are both from Trinidad. No, go ahead. I shouldn't listen to how many times? Well, go ahead then. Who's supposed to listen to her music and buy it if I can't listen to it? Years. This is what you've been doing for years. Same with Cardi, right? Same with Foxy Brown. Aren't they all from Trinidad? Their parents are from Trinidad. But I can't listen because I don't qualify as black. So explain it to me. You wanted reality in Malton. You've been teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion for minimum 6 years. You've been posting about Black lives, right? Black support, and then it says Caribbean. So I asked you to explain that. Trinidad qualifies as Caribbean, but then you keep saying Black lives. So who's going to separate it? Which one qualifies? You wanted to get into people's rights. How about freedom of speech? What are rights? You go over all these rights. And all you're saying is you can be whoever you want to be. Isn't that the whole point? Nobody should judge you? Well, what are gay rights? The right to what? What is racism? The way people treat you? The things people say to you? Both of them. To recognize everybody born is an individual human being and nobody has the right to judge who they are or what they do. You're born a human. That one. When? Look at it like which one? What the rights are that they want? If you go through all, maybe spend some time doing that one. And what are the fundamental human rights? To be treated like a human? So who teaches them not to do that? You mean everyone's born human? You want an argument over what now? It says these rights are based on the principle that everyone is born free and equal in dignity and rights, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. Gay rights or LGBTQ, it's going to take me longer than a while, plus rights encompass the fundamental human rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer individuals. So does that not mean being treated like a human being? What does that mean then? And I'd like you to explain that comment. Saying everyone is born human underscores the systemic and intersectional differences between human beings. Let's go over that. What system? The school system? The foster care system? Well, which system? Saying everyone is born human underscores the systemic and intersectional differences between human beings. Please go ahead and explain that one. If it's America, which one then? How is that different? Okay, let's hear them. The same? Like it's one? The same. Okay, enjoy your breakfast. Thanks for joining. Okay, back to which one? Everybody's lives matter. We're talking about if everyone is born human. I guess they're trying to figure out if you're born a narcissist or you're all trained. Let's go over what happens when you're born. You're with your parents, right? Until what age? When you go to school? So what age do you go to school? So who are you blaming? The parents or the school? The systemic racism is where? What system? The school is the one teaching them? The school is the one that was racist? If we go over the targeted hiring, that just meant you wanted to hire more black teachers or police officers. The point is, police officers have to be trained as police officers. Their color doesn't make any difference. They just have to be trained as police officers. Do you understand that one? Saying you want more black officers doesn't help. The officers have to be trained to be police officers. It doesn't matter what color they are. Does that help? Do I look like I'm joking? What was targeted hiring? That's the same thing with the teachers, right? You can say you want to hire more black teachers, but if there aren't any black teachers that are qualified, what are you going to do? You have to have teachers that have a teaching certificate, right? Well, which one are you going to change? If the system was the government, what government was it? We went over Peel Region, Mississauga and Brampton, right? The city. Then you went over provincial, Ontario. Then you went over Canada. You went over the grants and loans the nonprofits get to pay for everything. We went over the food bank, where the money came from. I'm going to go over quick what a narcissist is. Someone who likes power, control, and money. So if we think back to 2018, power, control, and money. They have no feelings. They're just charming people who want power, control, and money. But they don't care what happens to the people, the actual people. Because as we know, they don't have empathy. They just want what they want. So if we think back to 2019 and what happened in Canada or the world, 2019, before COVID, yeah, maybe the word toxic was floating around. So what did the word toxic mean? If we're talking about America and Canada. Now let's go over DEI quickly. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that mean? What does diversity mean? What does equity mean? What does equality mean? And now what's inclusion? What's multiculturalism? Okay, let's go over this. What's your culture? So what does multi mean? A lot? So multicultural is a lot of different cultures in one place, like MALTON. When there are a lot of different cultures living here in MALTON, that's multicultural. We're going to overwrite. Which one are you going by? Color, race, religion? You have to know before, right? Too long. Now, if you put all the issues, bullying, trauma, PTSD, CPTSD, violence, intimidation, threats, how many things you've actually gone through. Some people have gone through their life before they get to what grade? High school? Junior high? Well, in MALTON, we were talking about how old, right? All of those programs you can actually start at newborn. Do you remember that one? Newborn babies? So when do they bond with the parents if they go into care at newborn and the parents are working? If we're talking about Peel, that's the same Peel School Board, right? And Catholic School Board. Toronto and Peel region, 6 years minimum. If it started with what? Racism? Do you remember the post with the little boy? What was the issue there? That was a substitute teacher who took a picture and put it on her private Instagram at her private Instagram, right? So if that was a 5-year-old in school, aren't there rules for the school? Weren't there rules for posting pictures of minors? It wasn't a school account, right? It was a personal account. They wanted to go back to how they dealt with it. You can't go back in time, right? If she was what? She was a substitute teacher. If which one? If the school has permission to take pictures of kids, whatever year that was, and that's under the school's name, that's one story, right? If they post it on the school website. She put it on her personal Instagram. Nothing to do with school. If you could go back in time, I'm sure a lot would be different, but we're in 2025. They're trying to find the root of what problem? Today's what, Saturday? It's 12:57 p.m., just in case, on a Saturday. Well, apparently in 2019, you guys wanted anybody, right, to make money, but me as a narcissistic abuse recovery life coach. So that's what happened for 6 years. I was in and out of the homeless shelter while you guys were selling everything everywhere. And now I have no idea, but I can't fix it all. Yeah, especially when people are calling me a narcissist, texting me and flooding my phone and social media 24 hours a day. But they want free videos and free help. I shouldn't make money, but you guys should, right? That is the reality. Why did you call me a narcissist? Why are you texting my phone? Because I didn't really hear an answer to saying everyone is boring human underscores the systemic and intersectional differences between human beings. I guess we'll save that for the next live stream. Oh well, that's an hour. So I guess I'll wrap up for now here. Thanks for joining in. I hope you enjoyed yourself, learned something, and come back again for another one. You can always email amysregalife@gmail.com. Amy Seukeran, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Life Coach, Canada. Currently living in Malton. So, do you remember this one? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to live? Enjoy your day, Malton.